Dr. Nyugen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, my name is Nyugen, geoscience specialist with the CNSE. Before I talk about model, I have to put it in the context of the safety case. Again, models are used in the safety assessment, which is an important component of the safety case, but it's not the only component where on which you would rely in order to make a decision about a case about the safety of a deep geological repository or any type of waste management system. So the safety assessment has to be complemented by additional arguments such as the site characteristics, for example, the favorable characteristic like the stability of the rock formation, both from a geochemical, hydrogeological, and geological point of view for very long periods of time. Those are indicators which give additional arguments in the confidence for long-term safety. You have to take those into account. The design of the facility, the waste characteristics are also important components that would support the safety case. Now, the safety assessment in itself is an important component of the safety case. We have to recognize that. And it is, well, I have to redefine it again. The safety assessment is a systematic analysis of the impact of the facility on humans and the environment. So because it's systematic, usually we use a quantitative analysis in order to do so. So quantitative analysis requires the use of models. That's where models goes into play in the overall development of the safety case. So the processes that govern the migration of contaminants from the repository back to the biosphere are very complex, and they're numerous. You cannot include all the processes in any type of models, so expert judgment is required in order to identify the main processes that would govern the movement of contaminants from the repository back to the biosphere, and also the processes that would influence that movement. So in other words, you need professional judgment in order to conceptualize a system. So that's what we call a conceptual model. Now, the conceptual model of the most important processes are translated into mathematical equations, which are called the governing equations of the model. So this is the mathematical model. And those mathematical models are solved using, in general, computers. You can do things back of the envelope calculations and this kind of thing. But in most cases, the equations are solved numerically using computers, and then this is what we call a computer model. But in short, usually people just lump everything together and they call it the mathematical model of the waste management system. In safety assessment, in particular for the deep geological repository, for the OPG DGR, there are two types of assessment models which are being used. So the more detailed mechanistic models that we are talking about. So those models, they try to include as many processes as possible into the equations in order to be as close as to reality as possible. But it's not; they are not used to determine the overall. Usually, the second type of model are the process models. So the processes are the system models where the processes are simplified. And this type of model, the system models, are the ones which are being used to determine the bounds of the impacts on the environment and on humans. For example, OPG used the code AMBER in order to solve this equation. So this is an example of a system model. For more detailed mechanistic models, we can look at, for example, models that determine the geomechanical system in 3 dimensions, the hydrogeological system in 3 dimensions, and the contaminant transport processes in 3 dimensions with the close to exact representation of the real geosphere and the repository. You have other models that looks at the migration of gas process, the generation and migration of gas. So those are the detailed models which are used in order to support the assumptions and the simplification of the system model, like Amber. So those things work together and they combine together. So sometimes the more detailed model are also used in order to verify the assumption of different evolution scenarios which are used in the system model calculations. Right? We have to say that models which are used in safety assessment are not prediction tools. We're not doing predictions. The models tend to aim to provide a bound of the impact, of the possible impact, using conservative assumptions. So those are not predictions. Nobody can predict things which, the impact which is going to happen in 1 million years. This is something that has to be recognized. But there is enough, if the modeling tools are used with confidence, if you develop confidence in the modeling tools that you are using, you can say with confidence that we have properly bounded the impact by using tools which have been verified, calibrated, and validated. So those are different jargons used in the modeling business as well. So verification really is the way to ensure that the codes used in the computer models are functioning properly. So there are different ways to do verification. For example, if you have an analytical solution to the same problem, you can compare the analytical solution to the results of the computer codes. You can do a benchmark, code-to-code comparison, and there are different international projects, cooperative projects, where people are given the same problem, and then they run different codes differently, and they compare the results at the end. So those are benchmark problems used in verification activities. Now, calibration is when you have experimental data or monitoring data for a certain period of time, and you use the model in order to match the experimental data to the results of the computer models. This is calibration. Now, there's also validation. This is the only instance where you can claim to make some prediction. So validation are an exercise where you have a short or longer term experiment which can last for 10 years, and then you try to predict the outcome, the results of the experiments by running your code and then comparing your prediction at the end. But again, those are based on short or long-term experiments which can last decades or maybe more if possible. But it is not possible to do prediction for 1 million years. This is something which is given, which is accepted by the modeling community. In other words, models are used to give bounds, bounded estimate using conservative assumption for what impact would be for in the very long term. And despite the confidence building that I just explained and the conservativeness and all these other things, you still have to complement the results of the safety assessment with additional arguments such as paleohydrogeological information, geological stability, a robust design of your facility, and other things like the waste characteristics compared to, background material, background radioactivity or radioactivity of other ores, other uranium ore mines, or use natural analogs to provide additional arguments in support of your conclusions.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nyugen.